The controversial subject of restructuring has been dominating news headlines in Nigeria for close to 2 weeks. Many Nigerians will by now be very conversant with that conversation in terms of the strong sentiments around it from across the country. Constitutional amendment is another expression which seems to have assumed a life of its own, having been part of the country's political speak since Nigeria's return to democracy in 1999. Can there be a successful and effective restructuring of Nigeria without an amendment of the 1999 Constitution, which happens to be the major contention for the various socio-political groups agitating? Can the country's many ethnic nationalities be able to do without one another, as Nigeria has more talked about diversity being a blessing or a curse? Well, we're now being joined for a wider discussion around this matter by Professor Usman Yusuf, a professor of hematology oncology and bone marrow transplantation. A former executive secretary, National Health Insurance Scheme, Professor Yusuf is also an avid public affairs analyst. Professor Yusuf, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the Morning Show. Hello, Professor Yusuf. Good morning.
Right. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Well, very quickly. Restructuring has always been controversial. It's also become even more controversial. Ethnic nationalities are calling for restructuring to avoid Nigeria breaking up. Some people say, well, if you restructure, the country will break up. And that those who talk about restructuring are enemies of government, enemies of Nigeria. Only this morning, we woke up to the news that now the Northern Elders Forum is also calling for restructuring of Nigeria based on the plan to move Nigeria forward after 60 years of independence. What are your thoughts, Prof? Do you think that those calling for restructuring do not mean well? Do you think those asking for constitutional amendment also are enemies of Nigerians?
So it's wrong for any Nigerian to question the patriotism of any other person. Everybody has a right to speak, but in that process, we need to be mindful that whatever we say in studios, on newspapers, or in churches and mosques carry a lot of weight with our people, many of whom are voiceless. They listen to us. So I'm a student of restructuring, rotation, whatever shown at the end. And I've been learning a lot. And I've been meeting with people, talking with people. What is restructuring? What is restructuring to Lagos is different from what's restructuring to Ekiti, or the North, or South-South, or Southeast. Nobody can tell you what they mean exactly that will come together to mean restructuring. So it means different things for everybody. Or some people are saying restructuring because we want to be the next president. Others are saying restructuring because Lagos wants 70% of the VAT that comes through there. So we need to calm down, take a deep breath, step back. We are Nigerians first, before anything. I'm fortunate I'm 60 years old. I've lived in this country long enough to see it all. I went to Catholic primary schools. Our family was the only Muslim family. So I know Igbos. I went to Cross River to serve. I know this country. I love this country. I've been out of this country longer than I've been here. Nigeria is my country. I love it. And it doesn't mean if we talk, we're against this government or we're against this country. So we need to calm down. What is restructuring? Nigeria is a constitutional democracy. Whatever you do, you cannot change this country in the studios, in the mosque, in the churches, or anywhere. You have to go through the Constitution. If restructuring this country requires altering the Constitution, because the Constitution recognizes 36 states and the federal capital. So where are you going to sneak in all these things we are talking about? So we need to follow the Constitution, and we all have elected representatives that we hold responsible to do things for us. If we're not happy with this country, tell them we're not happy. That's why they should be coming home to listen to us. But all this clamoring, if you don't give us this, we'll do this, we'll do this. If you don't restructure, we'll do this. Yes, constitutional amendment, Constitution. I've lived in the United States, like I said, longer than I've lived here. Constitution is a living, breathing document that needs to be altered with time, amended. Well, soldiers gave us this Constitution. It's been there 21 years. If it's not working for us, then we sit down collectively and see where we need to fix it. But nobody should threaten anybody and say restructuring or what? Constitutional amendment or what? We have elected people that should do this for us. I have lots of issues with this Constitution. But I can scream all I want in this studio. If I do not go to my senator or my representative and tell him these are the issues, and he presents same to the House or to the Senate to have these things fixed, we're just wasting our time and only inciting people. So I'm calling us all to calm down. Constitution, we're a constitutional democracy. We have problems with the Constitution. Everybody has. So let's sit down and see what we can do better with this Constitution. Okay, and then restructuring, sir. What do you mean by restructuring? Right. Go ahead.
No, I'd like you to go ahead, because I was going to ask you that question. You seem to be supportive of a constitutional amendment, but to what end? Because those calling for restructuring are also calling for a constitutional amendment to that end, to serve that end of restructuring, that our Constitution should reflect a unit of federating, well, a state of federating units with a weaker center rather than the unitary system that we currently operate. So what is your idea of a good constitutional amendment?
Good. So what do we need? So what they're doing in the National Assembly, and I said it, it's a waste of time and money. And they know it. They've done it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and they're going to spend $1 billion to do the same. So why are we doing this? What do we need to amend in the Constitution? What do we need to amend to make this union a better union? Are we even agreed on what we want? People are saying, oh, let's go and amend the Constitution just to restructure. Restructure for what? Restructure for us to have a presidency. Then what? So we're not even clear on what we want. You cannot restructure or anything unless you go back to the Constitution. Say, okay, it's time, Constitution, let's look at you again. Let's see how we can make you better. And let's see how we can make the nation better in terms of its politics, in terms of security, in terms of its social. This country has been restructured severally. It was initially a one big block. It was broken in 1960 to three regions, North, West, South, East. And then 63 to Midwest was added. And then states were created. And then 774 local governments were created. And then we had Constitutional Conference. The same people that are shouting around restructuring are the same people that said creation of state in 1966-67. What has it changed? For me, personally, what I want to see, restructuring as it is, with the same crop of leadership that will be recycling themselves, and us, the attitude of Nigerians that all we want to restructure, the reason is because we want one of our own to be president, will not work. Rotation, unconstitutional. Every Nigerian, every eligible Nigerian must be allowed to contest for any office in this country, including the highest office of the land. All people are asking is that every Nigerian that is eligible to vote to be allowed to vote and his vote counted. Simple. And whatever we do, restructure, constitutional, whatever, must be constitutional. Anything outside the Constitution is illegal. Like all this geopolitical contraption, it's not in the Constitution. Northwest, South, is not in the Constitution. It's just contraption for people to carve out part of the pie for them to be warlords. And I feel very strongly about this. Nigeria is our country. Unless we start voicing out and lending our voices to this, reasonable voices will be drowned by those who want to create anarchy in this country. So yes, we must talk, but in that process, let's not forget why we're here.
Okay. A lot of people will argue with you on the point you've made by saying we need to restructure because of fault lines. Some people will say the fault lines are artificial, like the president said. Some will say the fault lines are real. And you can see those fault lines emerging all over the country. If you want me to mention Southern Kaduna, it goes on the declaration of Oduduwa Republic, the South going around and saying they started Amotekun, the massive insecurity, sort of like the balkanization, me traveling from Lagos to Benin and seeing over 42 checkpoints on the road. You know, a lot of people are saying if we don't do this, we implode. What do you say to those sentiments, you might want to call them? The fault line sentiment.
Right, and I tell them, good, there are fault lines, but Nigeria will not implode. Nigeria went through worse situation than it is now. It went through a civil war, and it will not implode. So all these alarmists need to calm down. There are issues. The biggest issue for us in the north is security. Security. From the edges of the Sahara where I come to the banks of the great rivers. Northwest, Northeast, North Central, we all have issues with security. So unless we address security, anything else, infrastructure, whatever, mean nothing to our people. So for us, policing and security, if that will come into restructuring and constitutional amendment, that will be our first. Sometimes I watch the TV. I see in the Southwest, South, or Southeast people celebrating, and that's okay. Whereas here in the North, we are burying our dead. And all of a sudden, we hear restructuring when we are still burying our dead and blood is shed. We are still talking about rotation. Oh, we are going to hand you over to this group of people in 2023. While we are still dodging bullets, women are being raped in villages. If I want to be president, I'm from the South, Southeast. I know where to go. I want to win the votes in Katsina, go to Faskari, go to Jibia, go and meet the people and empathize with the people. People will vote for you. Restructure to what? There are fault lines. Our biggest fault line in the north is insecurity. The governor in my state, Katsina State, said for 100 villages, there are only 30 policemen to guard those villages. That is one policeman per 3 villages. So, what are we going to talk about? Local policing, and I've advocated for forest rangers. All these bandits we're talking about, they are in the forest. If the nation does not control its forests, its airways and waterways, then its national security implication is massive. In the United States, there are forest rangers. In South Africa, East Africa, Asia, there are forest rangers. but large swaths of our forests are ungoverned. We need forest rangers to go there, foot on the ground, and take care of these bandits. Give us security. That's all our people are asking for. In the Southeast, what's your questions? In the Southwest, what are your questions? In the South-South, what are your questions? In the Northeast has been at war for the last 11 years. Does anybody care? I don't see that in the media. People have been killed for the last 11 years. So people need to be Nigerians. Everybody has issues. Bring all those issues to the table. Restructuring, constitutional amendment will not solve the common acute problems we have. Solve insecurity for people in the North, and then come and talk about anything else. Southwest, what do you want? Southeast, what do you want? Igbo president. Okay, an Igbo man, you want to be president? Who said the Constitution does not say only a Fulani man or a Yoruba man or a Hausa man? Mention nobody. Every Nigerian can aspire to the highest office of the land. Just find a way of getting there. Simple. Well, and I call on all Nigerians. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Prof, you said a lot.
I call on all Nigerians to be calm about this thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Prof, you said a lot that I find really interesting. You say just 3 policemen per village in Katsina State. And yet, when we had an election in Edo State,
one policeman.
One policeman per village.
3,000.
3,000 policemen.
One policeman per 3 villages.
Oh,
one per 3.
Policeman per 3 villages. And yet, when we had an election in Edo State, we had 31,000 policemen deployed. There will be an election in Edo State this weekend, and the Inspector General of Police is deploying over 33,000 policemen just to manage a one-day election. I guess that's part of the reasons, why some Nigerians are saying restructuring is important. But I just want you to clarify something. On one hand, you say the Constitution is the ground norm, is the basic law, and it's a living document that we need to keep evolving in terms of its provisions. But you then said that the National Assembly, the constitutional amendment, the alteration of the Constitution that they have been engaging in is not the right thing. Are you agreeing with Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, the Middle Belt Forum, the Ohanese, the Yoruba Council of Elders, who all said that constitutional amendment is a money-wasting exercise? I'll need you to just clarify that. But if you say the Constitution is important, then what aspects of the Constitution in specific terms do you want altered or amended for that?
Yeah. So you see all this grouping, they're all artificial. When I left this country, we didn't have all this grouping. Ethnic, this and that and that. These are all artificial, and educated people need to scrap all this and let us be Nigerians. Yes. So the exercise they are embarking on, the National Assembly, I agree, is a colossal waste of time and money, and they know it. And they know it. They give you 2 weeks, bring all your documents. After 2 weeks, they've already allocated ₦1 billion to this process. After that, the ₦1 billion is gone and nothing happens. We've gone through this before. There are documents they can use as templates. So if you ask me, I'm an individual, I'm one of 200 million Nigerians. If you ask me, the best way to do it is the National Assembly should be more serious than it is. This is just a jamboree and a waste of time. Look at all the documents that have been produced before. There were documents during Obasanjo's time, documents that were scuttled because of the third term initiative. There were documents during Eradua. There were documents during Jonathan. Look up all those documents. Bring people from all over this country, constitutional lawyers, people that know what they are doing about this, not me, because I don't know this. Bring them together and discuss what are the main issues Nigerians are talking about. Security, restructuring, rotation, revenue allocation, power sharing, whatever. Bring them down to things that people can understand. In my opinion, put it back to the people. Because all these politicians we elect to come to Abuja, they don't even go back home to the people. They go back home after 4 years. I will highly recommend, after reviewing all of this, put it back to the people. What do you want? Ask them simple questions. And don't say Nigerians are not educated, they can't do this, they can't. Oh, they were educated enough to elect a president, a senator, and all our elected representatives, but they are not educated enough to know what they want. I tell you, the people in my village, in my Ruga, they know what they want. They want security first. Without security, nothing else. They want to go back to their farmland. They want security. They want these bandits taken care of. They want basic necessities in life, the same in my Ruga as a Nigerian in Nnewi, Onitsha, or Ogbomoso.
This point you're
Aspirations
stressing
are the same.
Exactly. This point you're stressing is key.
Pardon?
This point you're stressing is key, and I cannot overemphasize that fact. All Nigerians want the same things. This idea that has been sold to Nigerians that some animals are more equal than others based on ethnic nationality is actually false. There is one tribe of the political class, which is made up of people from all over Nigeria, lording it over the rest of us. Your average Nigerian, we have exactly the same aspirations, whether you're from the northeast, northwest, south, southwest, wherever. That's very important to note. Now, to go back to your point about forest rangers and security and that pressing need in the north in particular today, the forest ranger model that's used in the United States involves local people who know the terrain, being drafted in to ensure security in those areas, because you're not going to bring in somebody from, I don't know, say Calabar, for example, to patrol forests in the north where they did not grow up. So you're talking about security being local, ultimately. Are you also extending that to the economy of our states? Because today, in 2020, we have 6 Nigerian states that are economically viable. Last year, it was 10. It's dropped to 6. The rest of them are bankrupt. Are we going to look at that for state's economy, which is restructuring in another name, depending on who you're asking, because that is some people's definition of restructuring, that state governors must stop going to Abuja cap in hand and actually generate revenue internally?
Right. No, I agree with you completely. States are being baby-fed. They come to receive money every time. That's all. Money collected or distributed, come back next month, the same thing. And you go back to the states, go back to all the 36 states. I challenge all the governors, all the 36 governors. What is on the ground is not commensurate with what they bring into the treasury. I challenge them. And that's why I tell Nigerians, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Nigerians, your local governor is more important to you than the president. It's not the president that builds hospitals. It's not the president that builds schools. It's not the president that builds local infrastructure. It's not the president that builds a borehole. It's not the president that will take off Al-Majre off the street for us. It is our governors. And our problems in Nigeria are our governors. Governor will finish 8 years, nothing to show for it. But he will give himself a fat parting gift as a retirement benefit. Nothing to show, nothing. So we citizens, we need to hold our governors accountable. All the money that is coming in there, they need to show us what they are doing with it. Nothing. What they do, the idea of development is investing in cement and concrete, building flyovers. When you have homeless people all over, and this is all over, including the so-called rich states, the same. Many of these big rich states are nothing but urban slum. People do not see the benefit of the money that comes in. But everybody blames Buhari, 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 Buhari. I'm not here to stand forth for him. I have a lot of issues with this government, and I've said them. I'm not shy. I'm not here. There are people paid to to speak for this government. But a lot of these issues, if we have very good governors, very good local government people, we won't have all these problems. We give you money, you don't pay salaries, you don't pay pensions. Hospitals are the way they are. People don't have water. You are distributing security vote for everything and anything but security of your people. So we Nigerians, all of us, must hold governors accountable. And look at what's happening in NDDC. Where our oil is coming from, where in Niger Delta Ministry and NDDC were created as a result of the injustices done to these people. But see what's happening. Billions pillaged. And people are still drinking water that is poisoned by oil. And yet they blame the Fulani man in Katsina. And then you go to the House of Rep, the person is fainting. And the member, the chairman say, oh, it's okay, off the mic. Fellow Nigerians, this is irresponsible. This is very annoying. This is not acceptable.
Okay.
It's not the Fulani man that is in NDDC.
Okay.
Money is given to develop your own people, and you're pillaging it, and you're making them poor, and you're going and telling them we need to restructure. Okay. Restructure for you, rotate to you. And it's the same all over this country. We must hold our governors accountable.
Okay. A lot of people will make arguments with you as regards this, and proponents of restructuring will say to you that the best days were the days where we had regions. Western Nigeria was thriving. You had leadership under Awolowo, for instance. With free education, changed the lots of a lot of people. Primary school enrollment rate increased to about 1.2 million. And the likes. You had, investment. You had the Cocoa House in Ibadan. You had the first television station. We still drive on most of those Awolowo roads today. A lot of people will say those are the good old days. And it was because we had that regional system we could do it. That today, you say governors bear cap in hand, but that's the way the country is structured, that everything goes to the federal government. And most of the things are controlled on the exclusive list of the federal government. And you cannot get anything like your resource. There's no resource control. So how would I even develop the economy of my state when I can't dictate how my resource is being used? So those are the arguments people are going to make with you. That you blame the governors, they go gap in half, but what do they really have? If a governor discovers oil as his backyard, is it not the federal government that's going to take the resource and give him probably the best they can give him, maybe it's a 13% derivation on this? That's the argument some people are making, that we want to control our resource, we want to control our region for the equitable distribution of wealth for our people.
Good. Rufai, you made a good point. But the difference is not because of regions. It's not because of regions, it's because of the crop of leadership then. The crop of leadership then was different from the crop of leadership now. What they have in Niger Delta now is more than what Nigeria had at that time. What they have in my state, Katsina, is more than what was in the whole of northern Nigeria. There is enough money in the states to do basic things for our people. Schools, hospitals, water, farming. This is all our people need. But our governors are wasting money on flyovers or getting Chinese loan. So the difference is not, and I say it's not because there were regions. Awolowo there is no leader in the West, in the Southwest, that can compare with Awolowo. If there is, I need somebody to stand up. There is no governor in the North that can compare with the integrity of Sardauna. So also in all the regions. So it is not the region or the geographical permutation, it is the crop of leadership. They all died, these leaders. What did they leave behind? But a local government chairman, one year, you see what he has. Governors, 1 year, you see what they have. So let us not deceive ourselves. We have lived in this country long enough. I am old enough to have seen 13 administrations in this country from Gowon till now. We were in secondary school when Gowon was tough. We went to school for free, university was good, everything was good in this country. We went into the world and competed favorably, from the education we got from our rural schools, primary schools and secondary schools. So let nobody tell me it's because the regions were where they were, that was why the West did well or the North did well. Ahmadu Bello built ABU. We all came from that. Produced the president, produced the vice president, produced ministers, produced professors, generals everywhere. Tell me what any governor has done. And they have more money than everybody else. They only made these northern governors, southern governors, Midwest governors, Gangan governors, nothing to show. So Nigerians, we need to create an avenue, a way to elect credible leaders that will be accountable to us. Our senators and members of House of Reps should come back to us and tell us what they are doing. Not every 4 years. Restructuring will not solve the problem. We need to sit down and say, what do we want? Physical restructuring, geographic restructuring, we have done it from 3 regions to 4, from 6 states to 12, to 19, to 36, 700. Has it solved any of our problems? Is it not Einstein that say doing the same thing time and time and time again, expecting a different result? It's a definition of insanity, and we've been insane. We need to step back. Look at what we truly need. I know what my people need. First and foremost, numero uno, is security. We don't need bridges. When we went to school, there were no bridges, no highways. But we were trained very well. Our parents didn't have to pay school fees. We went into the world and competed on way back home to help in salvaging this country together. This is our country. We have no other one. So anybody talking about let's break this ethnic minority or ethnic this, and I've said it. If you hear ethnic this, the South is monolithic. It's Igbo and Christian. The Southwest is monolithic. It's Yoruba, Muslim, and Christian. Diversity is in the South, and the North. Kaduna State alone has 54 ethnic groups. 54. That's 10% of Nigeria. So what are we going to say in the North? If Yorubas bring one ethnic group, Igbos bring one, we'll bring hundreds from the North. So let us forget this ethnic thing and look at Nigeria. What is good for Nigeria? Nigeria has been very good to my generation. We haven't given back to this nation what we got out of this nation. And here we are. What do we want to bequeath to our children? The poison and the bile and the venom I hear from these kids on social media, insulting people. Is that what we want to bequeath to our people, to our kids? No, this is not the Nigeria I grew up in. And I pray to God this is not the Nigeria we live in. That's why we're speaking up.
Well, Professor Yusuf, in July, you wrote an article titled Insecurity is a Product of Corruption and Bad Governance. And you raised quite a number of issues in that piece. When you were talking about insecurity in the North, you brought up some of those questions. But do you really think or believe that somebody from the northern part of Nigeria can occupy a high moral ground to talk about insecurity in the North, when the president of Nigeria is even from your state, where you said insecurity is a problem? And most of the key persons in charge of national security are also from the North. And yet, you know, you say insecurity is a major challenge. What is the whole idea then of rotation, of representation? If people who come from a particular part of the country who occupy the security apparatus establishment in the country cannot even protect their own people.
Yeah, I said as much in my paper that we have lost moral high ground to argue that who is going to give us security? Is it Tinubu, Amechi, or anybody if our president from Katsina cannot give us security? These are issues, and I'm sure that pains him and all those around him who are in charge of security. These are our people, his people, your people as a Nigerian. This is not something that we say lightly. He's one of us. He's our son. But we've said it time and time again. Security is our problem. Mr. President, you're the commander-in-chief. You're from there. And all your security operatives, leadership of the security agencies are from there. There is no reason for us to be in the state we're in. We've said it time and time again, and I've said it clearly. So we have no excuse to do that. So that is why in the North now people are in a very foul mood. Very foul mood. We are tackling insecurity and people are discussing who they will hand us over to in 2023. We are not in a good mood. People are dying. Women have been raped. Blood is being shed. This is our main problem. Anybody talking about anything else, we're not listening. Building bridges, highovers, airports, whatever, mean nothing to our people if you cannot give us security. And I want every Nigerian, we are Nigerians, to empathize with Nigerians, fellow Nigerians. We are bleeding in the north, and don't make it worse for us by insulting us. Everything bad is Fulani, religion, this and that. That's why I say sane heads, people of goodwill, leaders need to calm down all this rhetoric that does nothing but inflame things. So, yes, we have no excuse in the North for where we are today. And we've said that severally. And I hope the government is listening. They are trying their best. In the Northeast, it's been at war for 11 years. 11 years. Boko Haram, 2009 till now. Why? People continue to die. We must ask questions of our government. And in the process of doing that, it doesn't mean we're against government or we're against anybody. No. Mark Twain said patriotism is supporting your country always and supporting your government when it deserves it. So when our government deserves it, when it does a good job, when it gives us security and our people are able to go back to their homeland and their farms, we will say thank you very much. But infrastructure without security mean nothing to our people. Without security, nothing will happen. And please, Nigerians, tone down the rhetoric. Nigeria will not break up. We've been through worse. All those say Nigeria will break up if you don't do this, if you don't do this, nothing will happen. We need to tone down the rhetoric. I know we are in this country together. We have no better one. I've seen worse countries than ours all around us. And I've seen the best countries in the world. But I'm back home. We're here, and that's what we're lending our voices, lest it gets drowned by all these people talking about breakups, restructuring, Nothing will happen. Nigerians, we are better than this. I have seen Nigeria at its best. We have challenges, but we've gone through worse than this. Government needs to listen to everybody. We brought this government, we voted this government in, and government is meant to listen. Our elected representatives need to go back home to people, listen to them, and come back here, not remain in Abuja.
So, sir, you're rejecting calls for restructuring, but it appears that you're leaning towards calling for a referendum because you've made several references to wanting us to hear from the people. If that's the case, what questions would you like to be aired in that referendum? And secondly, back to your point about flyovers and bridges and this emphasis on infrastructure to the detriment of Human Development Index. You'll recall that Bill Gates advised Nigerian leaders to invest in the people and not infrastructure, which is similar to the point that you're making. When did the culture change towards bricks and mortar as opposed opposed to investing in education, in health, life expectancy, income per capita, all of which also affects the security situation that you referred to now. The North has been at war for 11 years, and if there was, decent prospects for many of the youths, that could have been prevented.
Absolutely. You're right. You're right. If you do not invest in people, leaders of our time invested in us. Invested in us. And that's how we became productive citizens. And forever, we owe them and our parents a debt of gratitude. We owe this country a debt of gratitude. I have another passport. This is my country of birth. And I love this country. And that's why we're here, to contribute. Unless and until you're building bridges and highways, when you have a burgeoning youth curve, not going to school, even those that go to school, they don't have job, high incidence of drug addiction, children out of work, insecurity, poverty, and we are getting loans and billions to build bridges. If I'm a governor of a state, I'm not going to build one bridge at all. I will look at how many kids are in school. What is their score? How can I improve it? How are our hospitals? What are our health indices? Maternal mortality, how many mothers are dying during childbirth? How many children are dying? How can I improve it? How can I improve the economy of the state? Not building bridges. All these bridges they are building mean nothing. In the place of where you have abject poverty, sea of poverty, you're building flyovers and bridges. Instead of investing in people, leaders of then invested in us. And that's why I'm able to be in this studio, many of us. Okay. We want many more of the likes of us. I'm 60. We are going.
Okay, I just wanted you to quickly talk me through this. I'll take you back to the fault lines I talked about. And it showed recently in two bills. First, RUGA. The second one is the Water Resources Bill. And we can see that northern-southern dichotomy in those bills and the reaction that came out of those bills. What's your take on them? And isn't that enough point for you to restructure, at least to calm things down?
Okay. So, yeah. So, Rufai, calming things down is no reason to restructure. All these fault lines are artificial. I'm a Fulani man back and front. I have my folks in Ruga. So what are people talking about? Ruga is where Fulani stay with their cattle. We are nomadic. We go all over the African plains looking for pasture. So Ruga is to settle them down for pasture and water for their cattle, instead of having issues going into people's farms and causing problems with farmers and herders. That was the intention. Noble intention. But people are saying, oh, Fulanization, colonization. So this is wrong. Our talking together is a teachable moment for everybody. We don't mix like we used to, so we don't know ourselves. Back to Water Resources Bill. Oh, people are saying, and I've had it, and that's why the interview with Sun, when he calls me, of course, he brings issues that are relevant to his readership in the Southeast. He brings the Fulani, Miyati Allah, restructuring, water bill. What is this water bill? To every nation, everybody that's been to America knows River Mississippi that traverses through America does not belong to any state. Every government must have control of its airspace, of its waterways, and its forests, and its highways. If you don't have control of that, that's why we're having these problems. So all these people are saying, I've had it, because people do not trust government. People do not, and say whatever government does is suspect, even when intentions are noble. And I blame the government because they don't communicate well with people. People are saying, oh, the water bill is, Buhari want to divert River Niger to Sokoto, Ruga. All this is nonsense. And you and I know that. You and I know that. You cannot say River Rima in Sokoto is Sokoto State River and nobody else will drink that water. Come on, people. We are all one people, one nation, one Nigerians. But every government must have control of its airspace, of its waterways, of its forests, and its highways. Because we don't have control of our forests, that's why we have those bandits. We don't have control of our highways, that's why we have these bandits kidnapping us. And it's our national security it's imperative. Part of our national security for a government to have control of all this. Airspace, waterway, highways, and the forest. Without that, we are not going to control any security in this country. So, as far as my understanding is gone, there is nothing, no reason to have this fault line. There have been Rugas long before the dawn of time. And there will be Ruga. I have my folks in our Ruga, and I go visit them. It's not where we are importing, we are exporting, Fulanis to South to have this. Come on, people. Fulanis have traversed this land for generations, thousands of years, and come back without problem. We need to understand each other better.
Well, Prof, I'm sure there will be many Nigerians who will agree with you on the points you make about constitutional amendment, about security. But there will also be many who will disagree with you on your points about, cattle grazing routes and also the National Water Resources Bill. But we'd like to